Lockheed Martin stock is at all-time high. Now, many of you may not even know what is Lockheed Martin. Lockheed Martin is a Bethesda, DC-based defense contractor that makes missiles, that makes tanks. It's the biggest manufacturer of arms. And the government buys arms from Lockheed Martin and many other such contractors, but Lockheed Martin also sells these arms to foreign countries, subject to approval from the US government. Why am I talking about this? Because in today's episode, I want to cover geopolitics, its impact and investment opportunity. Hi, this is Shalabh Garg. I'm finance dad. I've had a 25-year career in Wall Street. I've had jobs at a bank, at a hedge fund, currently run my own hedge fund. And in today's episode, I will cover geopolitics from a non-human angle. The reason I say that is because obviously no war is desirable. No human being, at least no human being that I know of, will ever want war anywhere in the world. Yet war does happen. And I don't want to talk about the human element of war because I'm not equipped or knowledgeable enough about it, except for saying that no human being should be dying in war. I'm going to focus entirely on the investment aspect of it, how to deal with the investment portfolio during it, what opportunities it brings. Do you make any changes? If you make some changes, what those changes should be like, and so on and so forth. And in doing so, I will cover three major wars of the last 25 years. These were ones that I was investing through. I saw markets move a certain way, and I'll share some of the things I learned, some of the things I could have done differently, some of the things I wish I had done in each one of the three. The first one I want to cover is the 2001 terrorist attack on the World Trade Center in New York when two planes went through with it. Again, as I said right off the bat, I'm not about to judge the emotional aspect of it, because otherwise I'm going to start crying and you will start crying and nothing good will come out of it. So let's just forget about the individuals, without any disrespect to the individuals that got unknowingly involved in that or any other attack thereafter that may have occurred, and focus entirely on the financial or the finance aspect of it. You know, when the World Financial Center bombs, the planes went into the tower, I was at Morgan Stanley at the trading floor, and at first, when the first plane went in, nothing really happened. People didn't really think that it was anything material, as people thought it was an accident. It's only when the second plane went through that it had an impact, and people realized that we are under attack, and then of course the markets tanked, and then ultimately they were closed down because the stock exchange downtown was closed down, and the financial markets for several days were completely locked down, and people were very nervous as to where the markets will open thereafter. Of course, most of the people were more focused on how the United States will respond and things of that nature, but at the same time they were also concerned about their financial well-being and how their 401ks will get impacted, what that may mean from the financial security outside of the military impact of it, and so on and so forth. And markets opened 3 or 4 days later. Lo and behold, stock market was down a lot, government bonds were up a lot. There was negative impact in all financial markets everywhere. Because the World Trade Center was structured downtown New York, that was the area that was the most impacted because it was completely embedded with dust and everything. Let me tell you a statistic from 2001 when that happened to 2025 when it is today. The land in that area where the planes brought the towers down into is now the most expensive per square foot land, residential or commercial, in New York City. Goldman Sachs, a couple of years after 2001, I think in 2003 or 2004, signed a lease for their headquarters right 100 feet away from where the World Trade Center bombing occurred, and created their world headquarters there, which is there to date. And it is the most expensive piece of commercial property that exists in New York. My point to you is geopolitics has a huge human element to it, but from a financial standpoint, it is a huge opportunity, because in more cases than not, it brings reconstruction. So in other words, take an example of the Second World War, right? There was so much destruction everywhere. There was destruction in Europe, and destruction in the UK, and destruction in everywhere. There was just destruction after destruction after destruction at the world level, as the most extreme example of it. It also formed from 1950 to 1980, for 30 years, the biggest boom in construction and economic boom that occurred worldwide. Japan took off, United States took off, Industrial Revolution took off, people came home and created rubber, people created cars, people wanted to reproduce, people wanted to have sex, create big families. There was all kinds of growth that came out of it as the images of the war started to wane. And that was the Second World War, where the casualties were in multiples of what occurred at the World Trade Center. So not at a very miniature level, a similar thing happened in the World Trade Center as well. People that held their wits and took advantage of the opportunity in downtown New York to invest either in commercial real estate or residential real estate came out very far ahead. Not very different from COVID either, by the way. In COVID, so many people in New York were leaving. New York came back from that as well. So point I'm trying to make is that, if you have a loved one and so on who's directly impacted in a situation like this, you're not going to have the time or the energy to focus on investments. I get it. But for someone who is involved in investments and is looking for opportunity, a geopolitical event of that kind is almost always a fantastic opportunity to take advantage of, especially in real estate, if not in the stock market. And in all cases, it's an opportunity to bet on reconstruction down the road and to bet on rejuvenation, as a bet on how 10 years down the road the memory of the event will have faded, but people will still have to live, people will still have to buy, people will still have to construct, and the reconstruction will lead to a lot of growth. So that's my first example. A very, very sad event, but people who took the financial incentive towards it or financial goal towards it benefited tremendously over the course of next 20 years coming out of it. The second example I would like to take is a more recent one, which is the Russia and Ukraine war, very far away from America. So as an American citizen or as an American resident, you may ask, what do I have to do with the Russian-Ukraine crisis? Well, the Russian-Ukraine crisis was not just a crisis between those two countries, because yes, Russia invaded Ukraine. Again, I'm going to stay away from the human aspect of it because there's no point I don't have much to say about it that will be of value to you beyond an emotional aspect to it. I'm only focusing on the financial aspect to it, and being true to that, at that time oil went up $30-40 massively. People thought oil will never come down given that Russia is the biggest producer of oil, and then at the same time there was this massive inflationary angst because prices of oil were going up. Stock market took a hit, and people thought that and Russia-Ukraine war, by the way, has still not ended. As much as the president, our current president, is trying hard to mediate and negotiate, that war that started 3.5 years ago is still ongoing. It's still not ended. Yet, it was a great opportunity at the time to invest in the stock market because the stock market took a hit, and people thought that the United States will somehow get involved, which it never did, and over time it slowly dissipated. Prices of oil started to come down again, and it was a great opportunity for people that not invested in S&P or were looking to augment their portfolio. The one piece of advice I will give you, United States at the time froze all investments in Russia. So in other words, if you had any kind of Russian government bonds or Russian investments, you got locked out of them for a long period of time because the United States made it such. There was so when making investments into foreign nations, part of the reason I brought this example up, it is really important to see what your recourse is in the case of freezing. In other words, if you invest in Brazil, if you invest in Russia, if you invest in China or any foreign country, it is really important to invest in a way so that your money is exposed to the valuation of those assets, so moves up and down with the valuation of those assets, but stays onshore in America. So in the case where a freezing of that kind occurs, your money is not frozen out. I know this is a little complicated. I offer a consulting hour. You can reach me through the box that you see below you. I'm happy to go over what I exactly mean by that, but there are ways to make similar foreign investments without moving your money into the foreign country. And in my opinion, that's really important because lo and behold, something or the else always happens. And before you know it, your money is tied up for years at end because you cannot bring it back. This is a part of our life now where some kind of war somewhere or the else keeps occurring, and the United States government is a powerful government. It's easy for them to freeze investments in a foreign country, and if your money is stuck abroad, you can't bring it back. And now you've lost control of that principal that you invested. But there are ways around it for people looking to get exposure into financial assets that are tracking foreign financial securities, stocks or bonds or currencies. There are ways to do it so the money stays in the US but tracks those investments. As I said, I offer a consulting hour in that regard, and I'm happy to go over with you if you're interested in that right now. It's a great time to look out for such foreign investments, particularly in Europe, which is coming out of a deep recession in the last couple of years. The third example I wanted to take at this end was our current war, the war between Israel and Iran. Now, the United States is not yet involved, even though in the recent last couple of days, President Trump has made the point that he's considering whether to get involved, and he will make that decision in the coming days and weeks. But the war between Iran and Israel is ongoing, where Israel is bombing Iran and their nuclear facilities, and Iran is responding back in whichever way they can. Again, the human element of it, I'm going to stay away from, but in the financial part of it, oil prices have again gone up. European equity prices have taken a hit because Europe is much more closer to the situation that the United States is. And in my opinion, it's a great opportunity to buy European equities, because European equities had been doing very well all year, and this is a discount you're getting from that great run that they started to have, especially because they're not as exposed to tech, where the valuations are very high. And if, as I said earlier, I offer a consulting hour. If you want to know how to invest in Euro stocks or DAX, and without moving your money into Germany or into European countries, but by tracking those assets, you're welcome to reach out to me and I will talk to you about it. To me, this crisis between Israel and Iran is as good an opportunity to augment financial assets as it was in 2001 or in 2022 with the Russia and Ukraine war. So the common theme in all of it is most political-led events fade. There is none. If Second World War ultimately ended, wars do end. And hence, when going through with a war or a terror attack, it is worth it. It's worth your time to take advantage of it in whichever way you can from a financial standpoint. That could be through investing in the stock market of the countries that are impacted. That could be through real estate investment opportunities. Or that could be plain and simple government bonds. But one way or the other, it's very useful to take advantage of these geopolitical events, because there is no example of a geopolitical event going back 100 years that did not ultimately fade in a defined time period. It did ultimately fade, markets did come back, and world just went on with that geopolitical event left behind. From a financial standpoint, the human element of it took a lot longer. I mean, people would say that the 2001 terror attack, there's whole communities still recovering from it. So the human aspect of it aside, the financial aspect of it always comes back, and it's worth your time and energy to take advantage of it. That brings me to my last point. What is the geopolitical event should you look out to today and has not yet occurred? Look, it's very hard to predict this, right? I'm just completely going off of a whim and predicting one that I've been tracking for a long time, which is China-Taiwan. I do believe that it is a matter of time that China reclaims Taiwan that China already believes belongs to them. If you ask any Chinese citizen or Chinese government, they see Taiwan the way the Hong Kong was before it was handed back to them. There, of course, they had a 99-year lease, so it was more direct. But they believe that Macau, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, and all of these were always theirs, and they were just a matter of time before they were brought back into the motherland. And I think I would be on the lookout for Taiwan being folded back into China. And if that were to occur and a Chinese stock market takes a hit as a result of it, I hate to say it, but that would be a massive buying opportunity for Chinese stocks. That's my episode for today. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me grow my podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, it's Finance Dad signing off.